I was in the grocery store, and this gentleman walked up to me. I was in the checkout line, and he had just gotten a receipt that said, I have, you can buy 6 donuts and get 6 free. Well, he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, do you eat donuts? And I turned around and looked, and I didn't. But I said, yes, I do. And I said, why don't you? And he said, well, I just lost some weight and I stopped eating donuts. I said, well, what are you eating? And he said, well, grapes and fruit. And I said, well, I need some fruit. And I started walking with him over to the fruit area. And on the way, he said to me, excuse me, but are you a single lady? And I said, yes, I am. I said, are you a single gentleman? And he said, yes, I am. And he said, will you have dinner with me? And I looked at his hat and it said, Special Forces. Well, I knew he was a gentleman. I knew that. And I said, yes, I will. And the strange part of this story is that about a month before that, when I was in my real estate office, this was in Palm Bay, I was talking to my secretary, and she said, you know, Peggy, there's nobody we're really interested in. Why don't we write down, make a list of what we want in a gentleman? I said, okay. So she was 21. Her list was about 3 inches long, and I was probably 70-something, or 69 maybe, and my list was 2 pages long. Well, my list says, I want a man who doesn't snore. I want somebody who's very generous. Somebody that plays golf would be fine. Military would be great. And if they're losing their hair a little, that's okay too. Or if they have a little pot belly, that's okay too. I want a gentleman. I want a man with a sense of humor. I want generosity. And the list went on and on and on. And lo and behold, when I met Colonel Toon, he filled every one of those dreams. I couldn't believe it, plus some. So God does answer your prayers. I didn't think anybody would fill those dreams. So I took that piece of paper and I balled it up and I threw it in the trash. I wish I had it back.
Anyway, I asked Fern to go to a wedding with me. My friend Joe, who brought me here, got me involved in all this, is getting married and asked me to be his best man. So she says no. How could she say no to me? You know, my God. So I says, why not? So she says, you got a reputation around here as being a player. Oh, so I come home and the next morning I get on the phone. Hey, Terry, what the hell is a player? Oh my God, Dad, don't tell me you're a player. I don't even know what it is. She says, you know, then she starts telling me. I says, oh no, geez, that's awful, you know. Because I talk pleasantly, you know, like I know you've known you and nobody's really a stranger, you know, I guess. So I went back and let her know that I am not a player, you know. In fact, I went out and I had a T-shirt made, player. And I wore the T-shirt. So then she decided, after the wedding, of course, I don't think she liked me having another girlfriend at the wedding. Oh, after that we started going together. We've been going together for 5 years now.
We hit it off, and then we started dating. And it was really funny because I was living with my parents because Drew he was 2, just turned 3. Well, 2, turned 3. And I didn't want to tell my mother. Now, isn't that ridiculous? I'm 31 years old and I didn't want to tell my mother that I was dating Coach Wasden because we have a 13-year age difference and I really didn't think that my parents would approve, so I never told them. So I was telling little stories about, well, I'm going to meet some girlfriends over in Cocoa Beach, and of course I was really meeting Tom. Oh, this is a funny one. Tom had tickets to the Citrus Bowl. And I think University was Florida was playing, and he had 4 tickets, and he said, would you like to go to the Citrus Bowl, and we'll go to Rosie O'Grady's and have dinner, and would you like to take your parents? And so I said, wow. And so I said, let me ask them, and they said, oh, wow, Coach Wasden, your boss? Well, that'd be really nice, because my father was an avid football, basketball fan. You name the sports, he was just like Tom. You name it, they were watching it. So we get to the game, and my father, this is really funny, he was a great beer drinker, and he's 6'4", and they didn't sell alcohol at that time for college games. And so we had a couple of drinks at Rosie O'Grady's, and then we took a bus to the game, and somehow my father disappeared. But he had his ticket, and so here he comes. I said, where have you been? He says, well, I found a beer tap underneath the stadium. So he had his beer, and he had it under his coat, whatever it is, and he gets in a seat, and we stood up, and we cheered, whatever, and he started to walk down the stairs, and he fell, and he rolled about 10 rows, and he's a big guy, and it was cold, we were in heavy coats, and he flipped over, and he landed with his beer in his hand, didn't spill a drop. And I said, oh my goodness, this will be it. This will be the last time we're invited anywhere. Certainly not me or my parents. So the next day my mother said, this is true. She said, Susie, I think the man for you is Coach Wasden. I said, well, that's interesting. I'm glad you feel that way. And I don't think I ever told her that, well, we've been dating for several months or whatever. I said, do you really think so? I do like him. And she said, well, he would be just perfect for you. So that's how it happened.